any statistics with me from the top of my head. You know why? Because as a coloured person living in this town, living in this country, I don't need a damn statistic to tell you what racism is. Racism is me walking on these streets from the age of 14 and thinking, who's going to shout at me next? Who's going to tell me that I don't belong here? Who's going to tell me to go back to my country? That's what racism is. Racism is walking with my mum who wears a scarf and thinking, is anyone going to shout at my mum? What am I going to have to do? Am I going to have to square up to someone? Am I going to have to run away? What am I going to have to do? Racism is me thinking 3 times before I put Pakistani on my job applications. Should I say I prefer not to say, or should I say I am from Pakistan? That's what racism is. You know what though? I've seen this town today in a different light. I have been living here for 6 years, and for 6 years, after being exposed to it firsthand, after hearing stories of my friends being exposed to racism, I lost hope. I did lose hope. But today, seeing how many of us have gathered, I have seen this downtown in a new light. I'm so glad that all of you, each and every single one of you, came outside today and showed your support. But it doesn't stop here. We are not going to go back and forget about this. We are not going to go back and not think about this. We're going to educate ourselves. We're going to educate others. We're going to empower ourselves. We're going to empower others. And we are going to change this country.
What's your experience of living in Grimsby been?
Mostly good, I must say. It's a great place to be. It's kept me out of trouble. But there has been various times where there's been clear culture clashes or racial ignorance that I've had to deal with, which haven't been nice, obviously. I'm Dorian Slack, was born in Jamaica, and I've lived in Grimsby for 18 years.
My name's Christine. I was born in Ghana and we emigrated to the UK when I was about 1, and we moved to Grimsby in 2000. So my family have been here now for 20 years.
My name's Daniah. I'm a British Palestinian and I've lived in Grimsby for all my life.
Like I told you, when I got chased when I was 13 by those chavs with my sister on my back and I had to run home. It's weird, but even micro stuff or stuff that's not as bad, like going into really high-end stores, you always feel slightly uncomfortable, you can never fully relax because you feel, I know this sounds weird, but you feel your blackness. You're always on high alert, I've got to make sure that they see me pick it up and put it in the shopping basket, or it's I don't want someone saying I'm suspiciously shopping again, or I don't want someone thinking that I'm trying to steal. And even the way I deal with stuff is I'm very calm in high aggression situations, because I've had football games where I was the captain of a football team. A fight started, I've gone to part the fight, and then I get ganged up on because I'm the big black guy. Do you know what I mean? So I'm always having to double think and double check and reassess situations at all times because I'm black. I can't just go into a situation willy-nilly. Regardless. Yeah. Because you constantly have these negative thoughts in, it kind of puts you into a mild depression, because you can never feel fully relaxed. Mm-hmm. You can never feel am I enjoying myself on a night out? Am I enjoying myself a little bit too much? Do I need to kind of hold back a little bit? And
Have I become too comfortable and therefore dropped a guard that is then going to put me in danger? It's a survival thing. It's sad that you have to think like that in the 21st century, but
Yeah, but that's the black experience, unfortunately.
The kind of way that we all grew up was just get on with it. Like it was just the way that life was, so you just got on with it. Like our parents suffered racism, like everyone we know suffered racism, so it was just get on with it. So I never really spoke about it, and I never really realised the impact until I left Grimsby that like it had on me.
Are there interactions, are there moments that you think of now which have impacted you, like having left and come back? Like, are there moments that you think of and be like, actually that was like, if that's not hard to talk about?
Weirdly, I mean, there are like obviously lots of incidents of overt racism, but weirdly the main impact I think was just much more subtle. It was things like body image. There was no one around me who had my genetic makeup. Like, I could never be skinny enough to look as skinny as the other girls I went to school with, because I was always going to carry like a certain amount of muscle. But I couldn't see people who looked like me, and things like my hair, things like makeup. Like, I couldn't just go to Freshney Place and buy concealer or foundation that would suit me. Like, it's like little things like that I didn't realise affected me until I left. I'd stopped myself from exploring what it means to be a black woman in Britain, because I was trying so hard to be as Caucasian as possible. Until I was probably about 24, 25, I didn't know who I was, and I didn't feel okay with who I was. And I think a huge amount of that is just not knowing where I fit because of not growing up around people like me.
The mosque here, because the community here is so small, the Muslim community, and it's like there are not many Muslims as in comparison to Manchester, London, Nottingham, bigger cities, let's say. So it's like our mosque is small as well, so we always do feel like we are being targeted because we are different. And it's just like there is that stereotype and there is that prejudice against us in comparison to other religions, let's say, or other people of different white backgrounds, which is what's accepted in the UK, really.
I remember once, after Lee Rigby was murdered, there was an EDL march in town. I was just going to the gym. The speaker stopped, stared at me, so everyone turned and stared at me, and a policeman had to come round and escort me round to make sure that I got round safely. And I remember that was the first time I felt actually scared because of the racism. I was like, oh my God, these men might actually attack me. And I felt really angry as well, because Lee Rigby was murdered by a completely different race, a completely different religion. These people didn't know anything about me, and they just lumped me in that group, which happened a lot in Grimsby. Like, I remember when I was 14, someone called me a Paki. And at the time I laughed because I was like, what is wrong with your geography?
I'm Arab, okay, and it's like I'm Palestinian, but I was born here. My whole family were born here. My dad came here from when he was a young age, like when he was 16, 17. It's like my mum came shortly after. So it's like, just because I look different, it really doesn't mean I'm Pakistani. If anything, like, call me an Arab, like, you know, I'm not saying Pakistani is like, yeah, just get your insults right, please. Like, I'm not a Pakistani, and no need to shorten it with you Paki. Like, that's really rude and offensive.
It made me realise that people in Grimsby didn't really see, Africans or Arabs or Middle Eastern. They just saw foreign.
Just a skin colour.
Like, yeah, exactly.
You're not like British. You're not part of the 95%, so you're anything else.
I know.
Other.
Do you remember in 2013 there was the attack on the mosque, wasn't there, in Grimsby?
Yes.
Do you remember that all? Like, what was that like for your community at the time?
Even after the bombing, it wasn't just regarding visiting the mosque and stuff, it was regarding general things, like even going to the supermarket, going to town. It's like we had to cut back on not just me and my family, it was like the Muslim community in Grimsby, and I think it was even globally, because it was a whole trend thing, like, you know, let's attack the mosques
because of the Lee Rigby
thing. So it was like people really had to protect themselves by not going to anywhere, like just isolating at home, let's say. So it was scary for the whole Muslim population in the UK. That's what it is. It all starts with friendship and understanding someone, not directly assuming like, oh, she's got something on her head, she's a terrorist, or oh my gosh, you're a Christian, like you're part of the Ku Klux Klan, like the KKK. It's like that. It's like you don't hear Christians being attacked with that, but then again, it's like the British people take that, they have it, they hold it in their hand, like with power, like this is our country, this is a white country, this is a British country, there's no room for foreigners, you're taking our jobs, you're stealing our country, or, you know, you don't want to follow the law. No. If I break the law, I break the law, that's it. If you have a degree in medicine, you're a doctor, I'm not going to steal your job.
Yeah,
That's it, done.
It's the NHS that bring people up here. I was telling Matthew earlier, the only reason that we really moved to Grimsby is because my dad couldn't get a consultant job down south because of the systemic racism in the NHS.
Wow.
And we ended up in Grimsby because of that reason. And there are quite a few other people who have struggled trying to find jobs and then ended up in Grimsby. No one minds that these people are saving your lives, but people have some huge problem. And it's always the same kind of, but all lives matter, or stop stealing our jobs. And it's like, the only reason that a lot of ethnic people are in these jobs is because we have to, that's what we have to do to survive. Like, we have to work hard. We're all told from when we're really young. And that's interesting. No matter whether you grew up in an urban area or not, we were talking when the Black Lives Matter started, we were all saying how we were all raised with the concept of you have to work twice as hard to succeed. And that's every, like, kind of black person's kind of philosophy, is that you have to work hard. So these people work really hard and get these jobs, and then people are very ungrateful for it. The problem is that somewhere like Grimsby has a large majority of people who I think are actually well-intending, and want to be good people and want to be inclusive people, but because they just don't have the knowledge, they end up not being able to do that. I don't think that Grimsby is full of far-right racists. Like, I know that we have some far-right people, but I think the majority of the town just don't know. They don't know that it's different, and they don't know that it's important to recognise that there's different. I think this Black Lives Matter movement has shown that a lot of people don't understand why they need to know that there is a difference, because everyone wants to say, but we're all humans and I don't see colour, and people don't understand that they need to acknowledge that there's a difference. Saying that you don't see colour means that you don't recognise my culture, which is, yes, I'm quite Britishised, but I still eat Ghanaian food. I love going to Ghana. Like, we have a huge party culture, a huge colourful fashion industry. Like, just saying you don't see colour means that you don't respect that. And I think that is the main thing that a lot of people in white towns like Grimsby don't understand. And that is why they don't improve their diversity.
For someone to be privileged, someone has to be underprivileged, right? And if you don't accept the fact that you're privileged, then you don't have to accept the fact that there's people underprivileged. And you can see people trying to fight that and trying to ignore it at all costs because they don't want to deal with the guilt. And if you have the guilt, that means you know you got to either change something in yourself or something in your community. And the amount of people where just literally just refuse, willfully want to stay ignorant, that has been the scariest thing. I get some people are racist, but it's the people in the middle who have realised but still don't want to do anything. That's the people that, like, scare me a little bit.
I think a lot of people think that Black Lives Matter is black people asking to be treated special. And the thing is that I don't go a day without thinking of my colour. People look at me in the street, I think, is it because of my colour? If I'm applying for a job and I don't get it, I always have to think, oh, is it because of my colour? Like, it's difficult already being young, being a woman, and then I also have to think, is my colour an aspect? And that makes it really alienating. But it's something that people can't actually understand. People just have to listen. But people don't want to listen because
they want to defend themselves.
They want to defend themselves, yeah.
I think a lot of people think making changes to this, systemic racism is very overwhelming, and which it is. But to kind of simplify it for people, it's just standing up to the little micro incidents and the little microaggressions that you hear in your day-to-day lives. If you're on the bus and you hear someone being racist to someone, just stand up and say, no, that's not right, don't say that. At work, certain jokes are being said, or somebody's making a stereotypical remark that isn't true about someone out of spite. Stand up or say something and say, no, that's not right. So it's just those little moments where you tell people, look, that kind of behaviour, that kind of mentality, that kind of language isn't right, isn't allowed. Because unfortunately, Grimsby isn't the most culturally diverse place. So a lot of people are ignorant and they think that kind of language and mentality is okay. So now that they know that that isn't okay, when they hear people who are ignorant, and let's be honest, ignorant people aren't necessarily racist. They're just ignorant. They don't know any better. But now that we know better, calling it out when we see it so other people know that that's not okay is, I think, the most powerful way to kind of start battling it.